Actually, Miami of last year, I was blowing up, my phone was blowing up, and I tried not to look at it a lot. And Rafa sent me a message, but I saw it like 4 days after.
He was buried in your DMs.
Yeah, so I left him undelivered for 4 days, and I almost died. Don't do that, guy, but he was super nice. Yeah, he got it.
What did you write back? Because Moise didn't know what to say. I told him just say thank you. I really appreciate the text, but what did you say to Rafa?
I mean, I said, first of all, I apologized for getting back to him so late. But no, I said thank you, and I'm fortunate enough to have seen him many times, be able to see him many times. So yeah, I say thank you all the time.
Most players get the W and go home. Alex Eala did more than that. She battled through 3 grinding sets against Laura Siegemund at the Miami Open, walked off the court looking like she had been through war, and then dropped the most casual bomb in her post-match interview. She mentioned that Rafael Nadal once messaged her after a big win, and she left him on red for 4 whole days. The interviewer's face said it all. The internet had a lot to say after that. Drop your thoughts below. What do you think Rafa's message actually said after her Miami breakthrough last season? And does a story like this tell you how far she has already climbed in this sport? Let us know.
We had Moise Kwame, the 17-year-old. He had his first ATP win come up here. He said he got a DM right after the match from Novak Djokovic.
Oh, wow.
Have you had any player or celebrity that has reached out to you that was extra special?
Well, yeah, I mean, yesterday, Peggy Go messaged me because I mentioned her on my story, and she messaged me back, and I was like, oh my gosh, and she was in my box today. I was super happy. Actually, Miami of last year, I was blowing up, my phone was blowing up, and I tried not to look at it a lot. And Rafa sent me a message, but I saw it like 4 days after.
He was buried in your DMs.
Yeah, so I left him undelivered for 4 days, and I almost died. Don't do that, guy, but he was super nice. Yeah, he got it.
The match itself matters because the Nadal reveal only hits the way it does when you know what Elise just survived to earn that microphone moment. 3 sets, close to 3.5 hours on court. Laura Siegemund across the net doing everything Siegemund does best, slowing the pace, working the umpire, taking a bathroom break right at the top of the second set, just when Elise was finding her rhythm. The first set went to a breaker even though Elise had controlled most of the rallies. The second set became a statement once Elise locked back in mentally. The third set proved what the second had already hinted at, that once Elise decides the mind games will not touch her, they stop touching her. When the final ball was hit, she walked into the interview sounding like someone who had left everything out there. She even apologized for how rough her voice was. She had just given 3.5 hours of absolute effort, and it showed. Then the interviewer asked about the emotion she let out at match point, the scream, the release, and whether that fire had always been part of her game.
Many more people reaching out to you, congratulating you. You could potentially get Iga Swiatek in the next round. Rematch from here last year, one of the biggest wins of your life. What would you think about that rematch here in Miami?
I mean, I would love for it to happen. You know, I'm happy, really happy about this win, that I'm able to set myself up for a 3rd round, whether it's with Iga or Magda. I think it's, you know, it's the fact that I'm here is a really good, it's a really good step for me. Yeah.
Well, you bring such beautiful energy to the court every time you step on, Alex. Congratulations on the win today, and best of luck going forward.
Okay, thank you.
What she said next was unscripted and real. She said this is not juniors anymore. She said every match for her now feels like life or death because she is lucky enough to be at the level where everyone fights. She talked about the Australian Open, Manila, the 500s, the entire tour schedule she has been grinding through this year, and the kind of competition that makes every single win genuinely difficult. She said she puts everything into matches like this one, and that is why the emotion spills out when it is over. She has earned that release, every second of it. That answer shows you where her head is right now. She is not treating big wins like flukes. She is not celebrating survival. She is treating every match as what it is, a serious, high-level, high-stakes battle that demands full commitment. And the emotion afterward is just what happens when that commitment pays off. That is the mindset of someone who belongs at this level and knows it. Then they asked her about the stadium. This was her first time back on that center court since the Miami Open run of 2025. The run where she came in ranked 140th as a wildcard, took out Jelena Ostapenko, beat Madison Keys, knocked off Iga Swiatek in the quarters, and made it to the semis before losing to Jessica Pegula in 3. That run changed everything. It changed how the world saw her. It changed how tournaments scheduled her. It changed sponsorships, media attention, fan support, all of it. And walking back onto that same court 1 year later as the 31st seed with 390 ranking points to defend, with a crowd that had followed her across continents since that week, with James Blake confirming before the tournament even started that she would be on center court throughout because anything smaller was no longer practical. That first step back had some nerves attached. She admitted it. She said there were definitely some nerves. But then she said something that shifted the tone. She said even when she lost the first set, she was happy she was playing well, that she was competing, that she was still right there, and that the work had been done before this tournament. So not everything was riding on this one match in the sense that she had nothing to stand on. The preparation had been locked in, the fitness was there, the game was there, the confidence from the FIBA MVP from Indian Wells, from everything that had been building since she left Miami last year. All of that was already in place before she walked out there. That is a different kind of confidence than what a wild card carries. A wild card has nothing to lose. A seeded player has work done, identity built, and the belief that she belongs there, not as a guest but as a competitor. Her answer to the nerves question showed that she understands the difference and has made that mental shift from one side to the other. The crowd question came next, and it led somewhere genuinely funny. The interviewer asked if there was any place that surprised her, any city where the Filipino fan support caught her off guard. She smiled and said no because they are kind of everywhere. She said it like someone who has played enough tournaments across enough continents to know that the Filipino diaspora does not have gaps. Wherever the tour goes, there are Filipinos there who know who she is and who show up. But then she mentioned the Australian Open. She said she saw clips after one of her matches of the line going outside her court, and it was wild. She had been going through qualifying, not even in the main draw yet. The line to get into her court was longer than anything she had seen. That surprised her because she was not yet the player she is now. The ranking was not where it is now. The profile was still building, and still the crowds were there, waiting outside a qualifying court to watch someone most of the tennis world had not yet heard of. The Miami tournament director made the same observation before this year's event. He said he learned his lesson last year, that Alice and Joao Fonseca needed to be on the biggest courts available because the crowds would find them no matter what the seating chart said. He said the international interest in both of them is so high that he needed them on center court because their fans were coming from all over the world, and it was going to feel like home matches. He was right. The center court at Hard Rock Stadium was loud for her match against Siegemund in ways that usually only happen in the later rounds. The Filipino fan base did what it always does. It showed up completely, stayed for everything, and made sure the atmosphere matched what was happening on the court. Then the interview moved somewhere that made everyone watching lean in. The interviewer mentioned Moisa Kanga, the 17-year-old who had recently won his first ATP match, and revealed afterward that Novak Djokovic had sent him a DM right after the win. And then the interviewer asked Alice if she had ever received a message from a player or a celebrity after a big win that was particularly meaningful. She thought for a moment. She mentioned Peggy, presumably another player, who had messaged her the day before after being tagged in a story and had actually been in her box for the Siegemund match. And then she said something that made the interviewer sit up. She said that, after Miami last year, when her phone was exploding with messages she was trying not to look at, Rafael Nadal had sent her a message. And then she paused and smiled, and said she saw it 4 days later. She left Rafael Nadal on unread for 4 days. The interviewer's reaction, the absolute joy at that specific admission, was the correct reaction. Because what she had just described is one of the most endearingly human things that could happen in that situation. Her phone was blowing up after one of the most extraordinary weeks of her professional life. She was trying to stay focused, trying not to get consumed by the noise, trying to protect her concentration for the matches still ahead. And somewhere in the middle of all those unread messages was one from Rafael Nadal. She did not see it for 4 days. She left one of the most decorated athletes in the history of professional sport, sitting there with a delivered but unread notification for 4 days while she was busy being in the semifinals of the Miami Open. And when she finally saw it, she said she almost died. That is the appropriate response. What did Nadal say? She did not share the exact words. She said he was super nice and that she apologized for getting back to him so late. She mentioned that she had been fortunate enough to see him many times in person because of her time at the Rafa Nadal Academy in Mallorca, the institution where she spent years developing her game from the age of 13, training in the environment that the man himself built, and that has been part of her tennis foundation since she was a teenager. So the Nadal connection is not just a celebrity encounter, it is part of her actual history. She trained at his academy. The philosophy embedded in how she plays, the relentlessness, the mental discipline, the refusal to give up on points that look finished, the emotional investment in every single game. Those qualities were shaped in part by the environment that Nadal created, and that Tony Nadal, who now coaches her directly, has continued to develop. When Nadal sent her that message, it was not a famous person reaching out to a stranger who had done something impressive. It was someone who has a genuine connection to her career, acknowledging a moment that both of them understood the significance of. The interviewer pointed out that Nadal saw it. She laughed. And then she said thank you and she appreciated the text, and that she has been able to see him many times, so she says thank you a lot. That last line is easy to miss, but it says everything about where she is and how she carries herself in a world that now includes Rafael Nadal, sending her messages about her tennis. She is not starstruck, she is grateful. She understands the significance without being overwhelmed by it. She knows this world now. She has been in it long enough to say with complete naturalness that she sees Rafa often, and she says thank you. The potential rematch with Swiatek came up at the end of the interview, the third-round matchup that the entire tennis world has been waiting for since the draw was released. She said she would love for it to happen. She said she was happy to have set herself up for the third round, and that getting there was already a good step regardless of who is waiting. That is exactly what you want to hear from a player heading into the part of the draw where the matches get real. She won. She revealed the Nadal story. She confirmed she is ready for whatever comes next. She left Rafael Nadal on unread for 4 days, almost had a heart attack when she finally saw it, and then went out and beat Laura Siegemund in 3 sets anyway. If Alex Eala's Miami 2026 story is not already your favorite thing happening in sports right now, you are watching the wrong tournament. Hit that like button, subscribe, and drop a comment. What do you think Nadal said?